Hello, I believe this should be Wednesday. This is Through a Therapist's Eyes, as we kind of dive deep into the mind of Mr. Craig Graves. Doesn't that sound interesting, Craig?
Ooh, that's a scary place, man.
No, we're not going to dive deep into his brain, and this is not the delivery of therapy services in any way. I made a big deal to say that on Monday, and I did that a big deal to say that as well on yesterday and today, because I am not qualified to diagnose Craig. This is a show about ADD, following up on what we talked about Monday and Tuesday, just taking a deep dive and taking some time to really kind of dig in and understand what happens with people, with ADD, and particularly from an adult perspective, where my contention is many people do have it and do not realize it. And they've just learned to cope, they've learned to kind of manage, and they're kind of moving through life, okay? So what did I do with my intro? What did I miss? I just jumped into the show and didn't do an intro.
I was distracted. I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, wow. He's got jokes, y'all. He's got jokes, man. Through a Therapist's Eyes, he's an unbeatable mind life coach. I am a substance abuse and therapist, mental health and substance abuse therapist coach. That's 3 times in a row that I did that today, isn't it?
You did.
That's funny. I'm going to dream. If I dream about substance abuse tonight, I don't know.
I'd recommend against that if you can.
Audience, I'm sorry. I always introduce myself as a mental health and substance abuse therapist, and I have said substance abuse and mental health like all evening tonight. I don't know what that's about. I don't even have a very intense substance abuse case going on right now, and I've never done that in 2 years of the show.
Who knows, man?
We need to dive deep into my head today. How about that? Can we do that? I need help, y'all. I got a book, Re-Understanding Emotions and Becoming Your Best Self. He's an unbeatable mind life coach. What is your website anyway, sir?
Wininyourmind.com.
Wininyourmind.com. It's a cool site.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if I complimented that on the air very well.
That's the first time you said that, but Sun Tzu was an ancient Chinese military strategist, and he wrote The Art of War 2,500 years ago. And he said, victorious warriors win first in their minds and then go to battle.
Oh.
While defeated warriors go to battle first and then seek to win.
Ooh.
So you want to win in your mind before you step onto the battlefield of life.
Dude, I am sold, bro. You need to can that, record that, and shoot that out to the world, man. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. And you can help people with that?
Yes. Yeah, you talked about that breathing practice last time. Yeah, I'm happy to have a conversation. Go to wininyourmind.com, click on free coaching, and I'll do a free 2-hour session with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and nose breathing and practicing.
Breathing is through the nose, man.
Visualization. I mean, you've got some really, you really want to dig into getting these skills.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to refer some of my people to you as you get built up, because that you get down into the skill level.
Yeah. And there's, it sounds woo-woo, sounds like it's Eastern or whatever, but there is tons and tons of science backing up how important breathing is. Proper breathing. People say, I've been breathing my whole life, but proper breathing. Breathing through the nose, down into the belly, using the diaphragm, and then back out.
Okay, Craig, how did you incorporate it? I know it's only been a few minutes, but we paused and we took a little break. Ending the show yesterday the way that we did, with kind of my observation or quandary, if you will, about, all of these practices, breathing and visualization, and you're spending a lot of time doing them, may have actually changed some of these things, not taken them away, but helped you cope with. Thus, you're not experiencing the distress quite as much. I wonder if that's percolated in your brain at all, any.
Yeah. I think that's, like I said, I thought it was interesting. I hadn't thought about that until you brought it up last time, but you are right, and that could be it. Chris, I've also decluttered a lot of stuff. I was doing so many things when we recorded that first show, and now I've cut back. We got Neil helping us here. There was some other things I was doing that I've eliminated, and I'm continuing to try to do that process too, not only in my work life, but also around my home and stuff like that. So that may be helping it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that the great thing that I want to point out there is, if you do identify these things with ADD, and maybe you've gone to your doctor and you haven't seen a therapist or a coach and you're just taking the medication for ADD, I'm not going to down that. I'm much more on board with psychopharmacology. There are mental health medications. I look at them as being tools, not solutions. But if you're kind of falling into the little bit of a trap of the medications for really any mental health component being a solution, you might want to check that, because Craig may have ADD. I'm not going to diagnose you, but I know there's enough suspicion in my brain where I kind of thought maybe that is very possible, right? Pills are not the solution for that. And if that's all you're doing to manage it, you probably really need to check that, because decluttering and simplifying, being detailed with breathing practices and routines and rituals, and, staying kind of on target and on task, with purposeful plans and writing things out, like that's all really important stuff that helps manage life really kind of on life terms. And ADD can be an impact of that. So let's move on a little bit there. Making promises and then poor follow through, right?
Yeah. I do have to be careful with that. I definitely have to be careful with that one. You have to be consciously aware of saying no if the answer is no, and if I do say yes, following through.
Yeah, and I know that's one, actually. I'm glad you said that, because I would give you the feedback. And matter of fact, I may forget when we're done with the show, which is another real quick point. This isn't a characteristic that I know I have, particularly when I'm tired. I'm going to say this to you because I don't want to forget to tell you, and people will do that with ADD. It's like, I got to tell you now because I'm going to forget, and forgetting names. Like, I forget names in short-term memory. I mean,
who doesn't do that, though?
Yeah, right. I know, right? I need that referral. Remember, you were going to give me that referral for this? I'm making a hand gesture to him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want that referral.
Yeah, I saw that guy the other night.
Did you really? Yeah, I've been waiting for that for a while, man. And it's
I'll do
actually
it right now while we're talking.
Oh, come on. He's distracted. He's going to do it right now.
I am, so don't forget.
You got jokes?
See, I'm following through on my promises.
Yeah, there you go. Slow in performing tasks is another real thing when kids, and as they get older and that type of thing, you kind of become a little bit unreliable, and people get concerned. If I ask him to do something, will it really happen? I begin to doubt. And not that they take their time, but it's just like they're incorporating multiple tasks at once, and you can't zip through things, get something done, get it done proficiently and fast. It takes a while because you're drifting around professionally as an adult.
You on number 7?
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not me either.
Hyper focus on things. I mentioned that. We mentioned that a little bit earlier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To do that. Hard to follow a person's thinking and communication, and not, in that being listened to and stuff, right? I mean, they're talking about one thing and they jump to another, and they kind of switch, and they want to come back, but they kind of forget to come back, right? Or I'll tell you another thing. Like, I'm working with a guy now who's totally identifying adult ADD, and in fact, it was genesis of the show. He's got such a perfect way of describing what I'm trying to do in the show, day-to-day tasks, and he describes, because he's very, 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 very verbal. And if you're listening out there, man, we're gonna, I've just started working with him, and I think I asked him permission to say what I just said, and it's gonna be cool because we can really do a lot of these things. As a matter of fact, it'd be a great life coach referral. I'll have to keep that in my brain, because he really wants to not be affected at work like he was, and he just gets a list of things, and he's there doing his task, and somebody else needs something, and so he's like, I'm going to help them, and he goes and helps them, knows he needs to go back to the first task, and he goes to the third task and starts it, and he's like, okay, I'll get back to that because I need to get my thing done. That's my priority. He goes back to task 1. You think task 3 has any chance of getting done?
Nope.
Just doesn't get back to it. And that person who wanted that third task is like, what's up?
Yeah.
You just left me and forgot me and moved on to something else.
So that's kind of like number 6, making promises you can't keep.
Yeah, it is.
You
Yeah,
know?
It really is. Performing many things but mastering few, unless those things that you're hyper-focused on. That's probably not as adult one, actually. It occurs to me. You might get interested in that and get interested in the other, and you don't really master anything, but I'm second-guessing myself on this. Because a lot of this is just my brainstorm in understanding the way ADD folks live and operate and such. So I actually need to check that one. But rapidly switching focus points, I mentioned that. Indecision. Kind of want to do this, not really sure. The ADD person might agree a lot. They're kind of just really agreeable because they go with the flow. don't really throw out their perspective as strong and forceful. It's like, you have an idea, we'll go with it, because when they're thinking about their ideas, it's kind of like, well, I could do that, and I want to do a little bit of this today, and that's why lists, very, very helpful. Like for an ADD person, like a must. You almost have got to have a dayminder or a schedule. You cannot function without it. As a matter of fact, a lot of adult ADD people, they're Post-it note kings. I mean, they have something that needs to be done. They put it on a Post-it note because they know they need to have that Post-it note. And if they don't post it there and post it there and post it there, it will get lost.
Don't get done?
Yeah. It would just not get attended to. So lists are great and organization tools like your phones. ADD people love those reminders. Need the reminders almost. Wednesday, third week in April, they have no shot. They have got to put a reminder there.
Right.
With others, frustration leads to increased avoidance of topics or discussions. I kind of felt like they might avoid things, not in an engulfment way like we've talked about a lot, but, they just kind of just go along with the flow. And it might almost be not that they avoid things, but that they appear to avoid things because they're not coming back to readdress what we said we were going to talk about. You might get this, I didn't know that we were going to talk about that, or I kind of forgot that, I haven't thought about that. Well, I thought I asked you to think about the thing and the whatever. You're like, well, yeah, but we'll get to it. And the person's sitting there like, dude, what? Come on, man. So that could be a thing. That's kind of what I meant by following attitude rather than leading attitude. Not to say that ADD people can't be leaders. As a matter of fact, I think they'd be great leaders. But it kind of relates to the indecision part. They're just not able to fully pull together a full team for a directed practice together. They're much more macro level leader. You guys fill in the blanks and details. I'll give the vision. I'll give the plan, kind of where we want to be, and y'all figure out how we get there. Frustration. I did say leading to a critical attitude, and I'm not sure that's the case, but if you can think of the fact that you're thinking 7 things when you're in the middle of my conversation, that's frustrating. And that can make you just edgy and irritable and just, generally frustrated.
Yeah, I've been quiet because none of these are really hitting home for me as you're reading through them, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He's in denial, everybody.
I could be, I could be, but maybe it is denial, But I feel like I'm pretty good at looking in the mirror and seeing my own faults.
I think you are. Yeah, I'm joking, audience. Absolutely you are. Poor limit setting with others. Have a tendency to not say no. They just, again, kind of going with the flow. I'm drifty. I've drifted out. I'm going to go along with it. I just want people to be happy with me. They're worried about people pleasing and, kind of just drift off into, whatever you want. I'm good with it. Very, very flexible, which is cool about adult ADD. Very, very going with the flow kind of thing. Anxiety, though. On edge. I can't tell you enough how much of a mental drain it is to try to keep yourself on task and try to keep yourself on point, especially with half of the boring things we have to do with work. How much energy that takes. It will wear a person out. Wears them out. And then, by the way, they can get irritable. Potentially thrill-seeking. The day-to-day function of an ADD person can be organized around, adrenaline jumps because you get so worn out and you like that adrenaline. That's what working out might be a little bit for you. I mean, I know you enjoy working out. It's kind of like you might have a dead day, or even when you're tired, you still work out when you're tired. How do you feel after you work out?
Like a million.
Yeah.
Feel great after that.
It's just even the endorphin kick and the pump and the, and all, it wards off the weariness that you get when you're trying to work and stay on task so hard.
Yeah. I'm not missing jiu-jitsu, man.
Yeah, are you?
I'm not going to miss it. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Chronically stressed, and honestly, like, I guess he won't ever listen to this. I hate saying this out loud, but I don't know. Like I said, my kids have ADD, cannot relax. Just doesn't want to sit down. He's probably got the hypertype. Just simply, like right now, you know what I want to do? I can hear outside the rain. My mind drifted off to that. I'd kind of love to just stop talking and just.
I know, man. I'm like, hurry up. Let's get this over with.
Yeah, I know. Rain just sounds so nice, right? Just ease in with the rain and be with
crawl in bed and get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. And
which leads to the next one, sleeplessness.
Yes. Trouble sleeping can be the case.
Yeah, I've been doing really good lately. I had one the other night, but I do have like a night a week where I don't sleep well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's
I
bizarre.
didn't know it was that much.
It's not one night a week usually. It's where it's not my mind is racing. It's just I lay there and I just never go to sleep. It's just this bizarre, weird thing. And so yeah, I mean, I do have that some. Apart from the thing the other night, it's been several weeks since I've had one of those.
Getting better.
So I feel like it's getting better. I do feel like it's getting better.
Dude, I can't diagnose you, but I really think that probably the practices that you've done have made a big impact on how you function and feeling. I really do.
Yeah, I think maybe so. Maybe that's it. Because after going through the list tonight and doing this one, I'm not feeling what I was feeling last time.
Yeah,
because I know last time I was like, wow, I might have this, man.
Yeah, sleepiness trouble. Deadlines feel frustrating.
No,
I enjoy deadlines.
Yeah.
It gets structure. I enjoy that. I work well with them, myself and all. Deadlines are intimidating and frustrating a lot of times for ADD people.
Yeah.
Because it's so scary.
Yeah.
What am I going to do if I miss the deadline, man? My boss is going to be pissed.
Get fired.
Or I'm not going to get the sale because I needed to get that for that guy at that point.
Yeah.
Can get stuck on screens and the reward system there with the endorphins and all that, man. I'm telling you what, man. I think are screens creating ADD or is ADD drawn to screens? I don't know, but it's a big
Well, it's my
connection.
example from earlier that one of those coaches tried to make a connection between the two. So who knows, man?
Mm-hmm. Tend to have a lack of patience, and you're a very patient person. But they could tend to have a lack, particularly with the impulsive, kind of tendencies. It's kind of like, hey, let's get you a solution.
Yeah.
Let's get this done. Let's move on.
Yeah, and maybe you're right about the managing it thing because I definitely have suffered from lack of patience in the past and irritability. I'm not as irritable. My father was very irritable, so I figure I might have inherited some of that from him.
Interesting, yeah.
But lately, I have not been irritable. And it's funny because I was having a conversation with my daughter recently, and she said she had been at her mother's house, and she did something, and she's like, well, your father's going to yell at you for that or whatever. And so when Viv told me this, I'm like, when's the last time I raised my voice at you?
Right.
And she was like, well, I don't remember,
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. Maybe some of the stuff I'm doing is changing some of the.
Would you kind of get on them pretty hard before?
Hopefully, I'm not doing. I mean, not frequently, but just being a little irritable. Little things could irritate me. Little things could irritate me that don't seem to as much anymore. And it's good to hear your theory because I hate to do. I'm doing all this breathing and stuff in vain.
Right.
Yeah. Nothing's happening. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Please, if this is inappropriate, just tell me. I'd rather not answer that, and maybe I don't need to. But you mentioned your dad being pretty irritable and all. I'm curious because the reason being, ADD is very genetic. It is very strong. Like if I'm diagnosing,
that's an interesting thing right there.
Yeah,
my father was the most driven person that I know, and he could get hyper focused.
Yeah,
he could be irritable.
Yeah,
and lack of patience. I'm not sure about sleeplessness and stuff like that. Hyper focus. Yeah, I said that already.
Not finishing tasks. House projects.
No, he could
don't
do that.
Finish.
My dad set up to do something. He got done.
Yeah.
He might have some of these traits too.
Yeah, it's funny your smile.
That's really interesting. And I remember it turns out that my childhood best friend, his uncle, was my dad's friend growing up.
Okay. Yeah.
And Uncle Mickey told me one time that my father could get so zoned in on a conversation, like he'd be making a point or something like that. And this was back when people smoked, right?
Yeah.
More frequently than they do now. My father would have a cigarette in his hand, and Uncle Mickey would take the cigarette out of my dad's hand and start smoking it, and my dad wouldn't even know that he had taken it.
Really?
Yeah. because he was so zoned in on what he was saying and so
Wow,
passionate
right.
about what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. You know.
Well, I was starting to say before you went there, I mean, when I'm diagnosing a kid with ADD, I'm often kind of looking around the room and like, okay, well, who else is here?
Yeah.
You know, because it happens like a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. It is like, if you have a depressed relative, we always ask about family history for that reason.
Yeah.
Because we understand the biological reality of mental health, and it's just like your medical health. And so if you have depression, you might have like 40% likely to have, a brother or sister or a parent or a close relative. When you have ADD, dude, I'm not a numbers guy and I'm not a statistics guy, but it's like 70, 75, 80%.
Yeah.
There's somebody else.
I was probably in my mid-20s when my dad started exhibiting signs of Alzheimer's disease. And I'm trying to think back now. I remember him being very focused. I don't remember ever thinking that he wasn't listening or that he was just zoning out or anything like that. But some of the things you're talking about with the hyperfocus, with the irritability, the lack of patience, those are things that I could see them. And you said we have some of these, all of us do anyway. So perhaps he just had some of these things and he didn't have that. I don't know.
But what's interesting also is, again, now understand this. That's why ADD, adult ADD particularly, is so tricky, because adults want to be on point. They want to do a good job. They need to eat, so they work hard to overcome where they struggled as a teenager. Look, good thing is, I'm curious actually how you did in school, because a lot of times when I'm talking with ADD people, I think about with them, how they read. Reading is easy or difficult.
Yeah, and you mentioned reading earlier.
read
I
like
love
a
to
nut.
read.
Yeah,
I love
you read
to read
like a
man.
nut.
I read all. I got like 5 books I'm reading now. Maybe that's an ADD symptom.
Well, actually, I wonder. Actually, I want to read one. I can't stand 5 things because it just takes me away. Honestly, I wonder 5 books versus one. There's all these things. And don't take one thing and overanalyze it. Anyone in the audience, like you can't do that.
Yeah, and I don't normally read 5 books at one time. I just happen to have started one and started another one. So it's normally I read one book and then I go to the next one.
Yeah. Forgetfulness is the last thing I want to say. It's kind of like in the moment to moment, you might even kind of forget what you were saying, or, forget the task, or forget something that typically people would remember and whatnot. And it's just because you're remembering a lot of things.
Yeah.
You're trying to remember a lot of different things instead of really remembering the 1 or 2 that you really need to remember, that someone is expecting you to remember. Like you said, everyone struggles with names, but I would submit to you that people with ADD really struggle with names.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't mind saying this. I mean, I may have mild ADD, and I think somebody actually recently said to me, a clinician, actually it was Casey, and she was like, well, yeah, because we were talking about the show. He's like, yeah, well, she's like, I feel like if you have ADD, you use it to your advantage. And I thought, you know what? That's pretty true.
It's pretty cool.
And it is cool.
Yeah.
And so, wrapping up here, Craig, I'll let you take us out of here and see what you think and come with the big conclusion, I guess. If you're struggling with this, or someone's struggling with this, listen, there's all kind of hope. I mean, people can be so successful. They could be so productive. They can find a great space in life to be more than productive and well. Whether it's autism, which is kind of associated to ADD and brain functioning, or some other learning disability. Listen, my son has dyslexia, and he is going to be one of the most successful people that we know. I believe that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I believe that because he's driven, man. He's on it. He's talked about it now. He's maturing. It's really awesome to see.
Does he read?
No. As a matter of fact,
he needs to start.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
You can read a paragraph at a time. That'd be what I'd.
It's not going to happen. I totally couldn't agree with you more. You have to fight through, because if you do have ADD, Craig, you have learned to do that. You can read. And my buddy also, we think, has ADD, a personal friend of mine. And he thinks he does, but he has fought through, and he enjoys reading, And as a matter of fact, somebody was diagnosing him, and they said, oh, well, you don't have ADD because you enjoy what you read. That's not true. That's not true at all.
Interesting.
So get some help, get some guidance, look this up. Don't be alone with it. Know that you can be wildly successful. Craig, sum us up. Do you got it? Do you not? And take us out of here, man.
No, man. I don't. I think if I did, like you said, may have figured it out. I don't think that this discussion had the impact on me that the last one did, 1.5, 2 years, whatever it was. So no, I don't think I have it at all. And that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's give you a high five, audience, when somebody's talking about the show, kind of sharing anything about themselves. I've kind of started a tradition, and it's just, to me, it's a big deal when people are willing to talk about anything of themselves. And so, Craig, I appreciate you kind of kicking into that little high five. Signifies that, that is a job well done. It takes courage to be able to do that. So thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone there. And we will tune in with you next week. Have a great day.